What's up, MPI Nation? Welcome to the end of the season college football playoff show. We are getting ready to find out what teams are going to crack the 12. This was the bracket entering the weekend. So all the games have been played. Let's congratulate Cal, Texas State, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, UCF, and South Carolina on winning their conferences. So those teams should make the college football playoffs. But again, if you compare the bracket to last year's bracket, the top 5 conference title winners have an automatic bid in the college football playoffs. Then it's the best at-large teams. So just kind of looking at this bracket right now, I'm going to talk about what has changed, what changed in conference championship weekend, which I'm going to be looking for before we even push. So the number 1 seed, which is the Baylor Bears, they're going to be in the college football playoffs where they lost. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how the committee will do as far as them. The number 2 seed, which is the Colorado Buffaloes, they lost in the Big Ten title game to UCF. So I'm going to be intrigued to see. So again, 1 and 2 is going to be into the college football playoffs. But they may not have a bye week at this point. Georgia Tech is the one interesting team right here because they're the highest team that wasn't in the conference title game and 1 and 2 lost. The committee pushed them to number 1. I think they're going to keep a bye week. But where do they rank when we get ready to advance? That's going to be intriguing to see. So with Texas State, they're going to go ahead and stay into the bye week spot as well. So that's going to be your 4 right there. But again, we're going to see some changes momentarily. North Carolina, they're going to also stay in the college football playoffs. They lost to California, but they came in with 1 loss. They're going to be in the playoffs. Same for UCF. They're going to possibly move up, considering the fact that they won their game. So that's the next thing. Number 7, Arkansas just lost to Texas State. I don't personally think that they're going to suffer at the hands of the committee, but you just don't know. We'll see. Also, at number 8, you got Maryland, who beat Baylor for a chance to go to the college football playoff. They locked their college football playoff spot. Congratulations to that team. We're going to see what's going to happen with them. At number 9, that's Maryland. I'm sorry. Maryland didn't play in the conference title game. They will more than likely be chilling and having a chance to get ready for their bye week. Number 9, Nebraska beat Baylor. Nebraska should move up a couple of spots to be able to stay into the position of clinching the playoff spot. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how that plays out for them. At 10, South Carolina, they won their conference. They're going to be in the college football playoffs. I do not understand why the committee has been so tough on the defending national champs. But again, we'll see what happens as we get ready to advance. California also won. They were the number 11 seed coming into the weekend. They should move up as well. Now, number 12 right now is BYU at 9-3. We don't know what's going to happen with that 12 spot. Do the committee kick a 3-loss BYU out for a 2-loss title conference winner in Oklahoma State? That's what we think could potentially happen. But you just never know. It's going to be one of them things we're going to have to watch as we get ready to advance. Let me show the top 25 bracket one final time before we advance so we can talk about why I was intrigued to see what's going to happen. Let's catch these comments up. BG, what's going on? Congratulations for winning your conference. Park, what's up, man? Tev, making the case for the Pac-12 championship winner. 11 wins in a row. Oklahoma State better get in after that Pac-12 championship dub. I know it, but let's see what the committee does. You know the committee. Bogus. Let's see. You got next time. You say who Baylor lost to? Man, listen, I said Nebraska. I said Nebraska won. Golly. Let's see. Justin Gammage, what's up, man? Congratulations for winning the American. He said they hate us when it's cool. Yeah, you're in the playoffs, so that's all that matter. Kelsey Garrett checking in and said, put good in Stockton. He ain't in nobody team that's currently left. But okay, as I was mentioning, as far as the 12, let's look at this spot that we're talking about at 13 and 14. I'm going to let it come down on the screen. So, number 13 is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they should not make the college football playoffs. No disrespect to that team. I don't think they're going to do enough to be into the college football playoffs. But then again, we don't know what the committee does. But the one who I think the committee could grace with a chance to get into the spot is Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State just won their conference. They're 14. They've won 10 in a row. Do the committee give them the fairest chance of getting into the college football playoffs? We will see. We will see. But then again, the committee has been known to keep us on our toes. This is the tricky part about it. The problem is that Oklahoma State has not moved out of the 14th spot in the last 5 weeks. So here's the issue with that. They could move ahead of Pittsburgh and be the first team out of the playoffs. But we're going to see what the committee does. Again, my personal opinion, they should make it over Pittsburgh and BYU to their last spot in the playoffs. But the committee never ceases to amaze us. But here it is. We're going to move on, and we're going to get to the moment we all been waiting for. Let's go ahead and advance. All right, we're getting past the first bye week. So it kind of spoiled a little bit. I see I went up to number 7, so I'm gonna get a home game. But that's not what we came to see. We trying to see the full bracket. I have not looked at the full bracket. All right, the Heisman Trophy winner is gonna be Texas State's quarterback, Brad Jackson. Congratulations. And we're going to be hosting Arkansas in the first round. So Arkansas did still make the playoffs. Me and my boy DJ load up tomorrow, bro. You already know. We in the same chat together. We're going to play. But all right, let's get to the bracket. I'm going to let it come up on the screen. All right, here we go. And the 12-team playoffs is and here you go. This is the official top 12 college football playoff bracket. The number 1 seed is the Texas State Bobcats. They have moved to the number 1 spot. UCF takes a leap from 6-2 and get a bye week. Georgia Tech stayed in the bye week spot, as I mentioned, and shockingly, Baylor didn't drop out of the top 4. So Baylor holds on. And again, mentioning earlier, shout out to the Georgia Tech user Dominique. He mentioned that he has not seen a number 1 seed drop this late in the season, and it is exactly what happened. They only dropped into the 4th spot because they came in with 1 loss. So that's your bye week. Now, as far as the matchups, Colorado is hosting BYU, which is the shocker. So BYU stayed at the 12 spot. The second matchup, Nebraska is going to host the defending national champion South Carolina at home. Number 7, Cal is going to be hosting Arkansas at home. Then we got in the top bracket, we also got, last but not least, Maryland's going to be hosting North Carolina, and this is your 12. Am I surprised with this 12? No. But at the same time, I'm kind of shocked that they didn't move Oklahoma State. But this is what I mentioned in these leagues. It is key that you be in the top 12 or near that top 12 going into championship weekend. Because unfortunately, Oklahoma State, I'm going to tell you what happened to that conference. Hold on, I'm going to show the comments real quick. Ant said expected. Jeff said, boy, what the hell? I know you lying. Beat DJ so bad, he boosted to number 1. Jump to number 1 and get the toughest route. Oh yeah, that's a tough. That bracket's very interesting on that side. He beat the ranking shit. So let me explain the way that this college football bracket works. You don't get penalized for going to your conference title game unless you're a fringe playoff team. That's number 1. But number 2, I'm going to mention a game from the week prior to this conference championship weekend. The Pac-12 lost their spot, unfortunately, when Iowa State lost to Pitt the last week of the regular season. Because I'm going to mention to you, this is just applying this to the real life bracket. So the top 5 conference winners make the college football playoffs. Texas State is 1, UCF is 2, California 7, Nebraska 6, South Carolina is 11. Those are the top 5 ranked conference title winners. If you're not ranked higher than that, your conference has a great chance of not making it. That's what happened to Oklahoma State. I can't wait to see what their rankings is going to be. They may end up being the first team out, but that's what happened in this scenario. Also, another thing that happened in this bracket, like I said, it's not like the first year where your top 4 conference title winners get a bye week. Your ranking heading into that conference title game matters. They didn't penalize Tech, drop Tech, or move Tech up. They gave the 2 best conference title teams a spot up there at number 1 and 2. Baylor dropped to 4 to get a bye week. Now looking at the first round, Nebraska went up to 6 from number 9. California went up to 7 from number 11. Number 8 was Maryland. They were 8 when they came into the week. They stayed at number 8. North Carolina was 5th. They dropped to 9th. Again, they were not going to get penalized for losing the conference title game. Same for Arkansas. Arkansas was going to make it because you can't penalize a team for losing to the same team twice. That is exactly what happened in that situation. Number 11. Now, I will say this. If there's any spot in this 12-team bracket that I have an issue with of how this team played out, it is South Carolina. You cannot convince me that a 12-win South Carolina team should not be higher ranked or have a home game in the college football playoffs and are the defending national champions. Miss me with that. I got to be brutally honest. That's not fair. Straight up. Number 12 is the one that I'm highly shocked about is BYU. Now, BYU barely hung on to that 12 spot. But again, we're going to go to the full 25 spot bracket so we can really get a breakdown of this thing. But let's move over. Let's hit these comments one more time. Get out there, Pac-12 ASAP 111 run defeating. Again, it goes back to the way that the new format is set up. The top 5 conference title winners got the edge. And then again, as I mentioned before we advanced, the problem that Oklahoma State ran into, they didn't get higher than 14 going into the championship weekend. And unless there was chaos at the top, it was going to be hard to kind of crack that 25. Let's go to the actual top 25 rankings, though. Let's go to the top 25 rankings. Let me see if I ended up being spot on. I am. I'm gonna go down to number 13. I called it spot on in the previous week before we advanced. You said you didn't beat nobody in 11-game winning streak. You had 7 to 8 forced wins. This is exactly what happened. Oklahoma State jumped Pittsburgh, but they didn't have enough to jump ahead of BYU. And that's what happened in this situation. The problem was BYU. Let me also break this down to you too. If you can go back and remember, in the actual college football bracket this year, Miami got in over Notre Dame. Miami was representing a certain conference, and they beat Notre Dame. This is what happens when your conference don't perform well throughout the season. This is no jab at no users in any particular conference, but it is key that you are in a conference where your teams are competitive, because you will fall into this spot more times than none. So that's the issue at number 13 right now for Oklahoma State. I thought they should have been number 12 over BYU, but again, the committee has their way of calling things. So, but again, these conferences are going to change this offseason. So it'll be the top. So whoever is the top 5 conference winners, they'll get in. Nobody will be left out, because one conference will be dissolved after this regular season here. But moving on to number 14. Number 14 is Pittsburgh. As I said, they were going to drop because, again, you were number 3 in the SEC. You didn't play in a conference title game. You're not going to fall into the playoff spot. I'm sorry. You're number 3 in the SEC without a conference title win. Moving on to number 15, Indiana. Again, Indiana was also late in the race for the college football playoffs, but they ended up losing late, which kicked them out of the race to even have a shot to get back up. This is, again, why you don't lose late. Moving on to 16, which is SMU. SMU, they'll take the ranking that they had to finish the regular season. They at one point had fallen to the unranked spot. Moved down to 17, UCLA. UCLA finished in the 17th spot. They moved up pretty much because they had also kicked them out of the top 25. But I'm sure that program is happy about the spot they're in. Iowa State, who lost in the Pac-12 title game, fell to 18. No surprise there. It was already on thin ice to even move up. If then you lose in the conference title game, don't help your case. Also, same for number 19. They didn't get penalized for losing to South Carolina. And then, as you see, 21 and 22 is Buffalo and Auburn. They stayed in the top 25. So that's your top 25. Hey, I know Oklahoma State is not happy about it, but hey, it is what it is. This is unfortunately the way the cookie crumbles at times in the college football playoffs. As you get, so again, make sure that you guys get on there and you check your your All-American teams and all. Again, this is just a preview of your All-American squads. You know, those points do go towards your freshmen for the off season. Just giving you a little rundown of what the so as you can see, these are some of the freshmen national team All-American. So we're just showing some of the different stuff. But the last thing I'm gonna show is the bowl games, and then hey, you can kick off the college football playoffs as soon as possible. Let me go to what ended up being the bowl matchups. See if we got any user games in that. And then I'm gonna go back to the bracket one more time before I get off the show. But Oklahoma State, they are in the Alamo Bowl. He probably ticked off right now. Take your breather, tell. I know you're ticked right now. I get it. Let's see if anybody. Again, let's go down on the screen. BYU and Colorado is going to match up for a third time in the Big Ten. These are conference rivals. South Carolina and Nebraska, I want to say, no, they didn't play this season. They've played in the playoffs recently. So this is a playoff rematch. You got Arkansas at home, going to Cal to play on the road. And then you got North Carolina going on the road to play Maryland in the first round. But that's your first round as far as this week. Trying to see if I can see any users versus CPU games that could be possibly going on. Let's go to the Fenway Bowl. Mizzou's going to be playing Rutgers. So Baylor, as you see, Baylor's in the Fiesta Bowl with a bye week. They don't play until New Year's Eve. We do have a user matchup in a bowl game. That's going to be the Frisco Bowl, which is going to be between Washington and Arizona State, who both had a decent end to the season for each other. So if they want to run a game, cool. Let's go to the Gasparilla Bowl. Memphis is going to be against Cincinnati. Let's go to the Gator Bowl. At the Gator Bowl, you're going to have Buddy Sanders and the UCLA Bruins taking on Purdue. Of course, if you want to run them games against the CPU, you're welcome to do so. That goes towards your recruiting down the road. Another user bowl game matchup is going to be in the Holiday Bowl. It's going to be number 22 Auburn taking on number 18 Iowa State. Let me see, what's another matchup? Got another one in the Las Vegas Bowl. You got number 16 SMU playing against Ole Miss. Let me find another one. You got the Myrtle Beach Bowl. You got the TCU Horned Frogs hosting Louisiana. Moving on to the next matchup I see on here. What are the odds? You got Dominique Marr and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets playing in their backyard at Mercedes-Benz with a bye week. They're going to play the winner of South Carolina and Nebraska in Atlanta at the Peach Bowl. So let's move on. The GlideQuest Bowl, the winner, let's see, Pittsburgh will be playing UConn. They get a chance to finish the season 11-2 and get a beat up on UConn. The Rose Bowl, which is going to have number 2 UCF. So the winner of the Arkansas-Cal game will go to the Rose Bowl to play UCF. Okay, on to the Sugar Bowl. You got the winner of North Carolina-Maryland that's going to be going to New Orleans to play Coach Anthony McElroy Jr. and the number 1 seed Texas State Bobcats. And then the last 2 matchups on here, you got Buffalo going to play Louisville at the Sun Bowl. And last but not least, you got Indiana hosting Miami University, which is Miami, Ohio, at the Texas Bowl. So those are the matchups. But I'm going to go back to the bracket one final time before I wrap this show. Looking at this bracket, this is going to be a very interesting spot. Just from what I see right now, something that sticks out to me, I cannot wait to see what that South Carolina-Nebraska game, the South Carolina, Nebraska, and Colorado BYU games, they're going to be very interesting because Colorado and BYU have battled for the Big Ten title multiple times recently. So one of them can eliminate each other in the first round, and then they will go play against the Baylor Bears, who's been in the last 2 national championship games. So it's going to be interesting. I also see that Baylor and Texas State, who was the season 1 national championship game, are on the same side of the bracket. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for. Also in the North Carolina-Maryland game, the winner of that game will take on Texas State. If we could potentially see a North Carolina-Texas State second quarterfinals in New Orleans, that would be one for the books. Same thing for the Nebraska-South Carolina game. South Carolina, they got a tall task on their hands going on the road to Nebraska. But whoever will be playing Georgia Tech in Atlanta. So there's I'm not going to say there's home field advantage for Georgia Tech, but they got a favorable spot. And UCF will play the winner of Cal and Arkansas. That should be a good matchup. And of course, the winner of that game will go to play at the Rose Bowl. That's a big venue. If it's Arkansas, Arkansas is going to be. I don't know if the last time the Arkansas Razorbacks played. I don't think they've ever played in the Rose Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. Let me fact check that before I continue. I want to fact check that. I am correct. They have never played in the Rose Bowl. So that would be the first time if those guys make the Rose Bowl in their school's history. So that would be a very intriguing matchup for Cal and for Arkansas. And Cal, they have made it 8 different times in their school's history. So that's them playing in their backyard. Technically, that's not too far from where they are. So intriguing. I'm intrigued. I'm going to be intrigued to see how this playoffs finish. Also, from a personal standpoint, my Cal Golden Bears getting a chance to play against a really good Arkansas team. So it'll be fun to see what these boys can do in the playoffs. But until the playoffs get started, this has been the MPI College Football Playoff Show. I will be commentating the semifinals and the national championship game. So be on the lookout. I can't wait to call these games. But until then, this has been the MPI College Football Playoff Show. Checking out. I'm going to go ahead and post the games to be played in the chat. And hey, y'all guys are going to see me get after tomorrow. So good night, good luck, and let's see who's going to win the Season 3 National Championship. Oh, side note, can South Carolina be the first team to repeat? We have never had in the 2, no pun intended, that I've ran, which is now 8 seasons in, which is the 525 and 3 this year. Nobody has repeated as a national champion. Can it happen now? We'll see. Check it out.